Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. Reserve Bank of India keep interest rates unchanged at 6.5% for the 7th consecutive time. RBI governor says focus on aligning inflation to the target, task not yet finished. Election campaign picks momentum for parliamentary polls in India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses rally in northern state of Rajasthan. Opposition party Congress releases its poll manifesto. Biden warns Netanyahu takes steps to prevent civilian harm to maintain US support. Hours after Biden-Netanyahu call, Israel adds 3 key crossings to Gaza aid routes. Situation around the Ukraine's eastern city of Chasiv tense. Ukrainian military denies that Russian forces had entered the suburbs of Chasiv, asserts intense fighting underway. India's central bank on Friday announced its decision on the short-term lending rate or repo rate and kept it unchanged at 6.5%. Announcing the current fiscal year monetary policy, RBI Governor Shaktikant Das said that headline inflation has eased to 5.1% during January and February 2024 from the earlier peak of 5.7% in December 2023.
The Reserve Bank MPC decided by a majority of 5-1 to keep the policy repo rate unchanged at 6.5%. Consequently, the standing deposit facility, that is the SDF, rate remains at 6.25% and the marginal standing facility, that is the MSF rate, remains at MSF rate and the bank rate, they remain at 6.75%. The MPC also decided by a majority of 5 out of 6 members to remain focused on withdrawal of accommodation to ensure that inflation progressively aligns to the target while supporting growth.
RBI governor noted that inflation has come down significantly, adding that robust growth prospects provide the policy space to remain focused on inflation and ensure its descent to the target of 4%.
CPI inflation for the current year 24-25 is projected at 4.5%, with Q1 at 4.9%, Q2 at 3.8%, Q3 at 4.6%, and Q4 at 4.5%. The risks are evenly balanced. Inflation has come down significantly but remains above the 4% target.
The Reserve Bank has retained real GDP growth forecast for 2024-25 financial year at 7%. RBI Governor Shaktikant Das said that the domestic economic activity is continuing to expand at an accelerated pace. Rural demand is gathering pace, improving employment conditions and sustained growth in manufacturing and services sector should boost private investment.
The real GDP growth for the current financial year 2024-25, which started on 1st April. The real GDP growth for 24-25 is projected at 7%, with Q1 at 7.1%, Q2 at 6.9%, and both Q3 and Q4 at 7% each.
At a press briefing in Mumbai, the RBI governor made 5 observations about the MPC policy outcome. Thus noted that the inflation is moderating and GDP growth is robust, asserting that RBI will focus on preserving financial stability, promoting financial sector and payment system that is robust and future ready.
Inflation is moderating and the GDP growth is robust. Number 2, the Monetary Policy Committee remains focused on aligning inflation to the target on a durable basis. We derive satisfaction from the progress made under disinflation, but the task is not yet finished. Number 3, the financial sector continues to be stable. Number 4, external sector also continues to be resilient. Number 5, as we move towards RBI at 100, the Reserve Bank will continue to focus on preserving financial stability and promoting a financial sector and a payment system that is robust, resilient, and future ready.
All right, for more on this, I've been joined by our correspondent Shama from Mumbai, and also I've been joined by Mr. Prasenjit K. Basu, who's a Chief Economist, ICICI Securities. A very good afternoon to both of you. First, I would like to go across to Shama. Shama, tell us about the key highlights of the announcement made by the RBI Governor in the Monetary Policy 2024.
Well, Siddharth, for starters, you've already listed out the 5 important observations that were there in the announcement, and the governor usually takes that pattern to list out the 5 or the 7 important highlights of that particular announcement. So we understand that it was on expected lines. There has been no changes made in the key rates. The key repo rate at 6.5 remains for the 7th time, and that is why, as I said, that it is on expected lines. So we didn't see any event happening. The reactions or coming in. There was not much of a difference. Apart from that, we understand that inflation is a big headache for RBI, but it is moderating. However, the other inflation, the other areas of inflation is still moderating, but the food inflation, the CPI inflation still remains a headache for RBI, and that is why RBI is going to be watchful of that. They have already said that the task is not over yet. The task is to take the elephant out in the forest and ensure that it stays there on durable basis. So yes, inflation is going to be their target. We are understanding that the climate risks, the geopolitical risks, and also the supply side risks are some of the major challenges that are faced by not just India, but the external factors are faced by the international markets, global markets as well. So these were also highlighted. But yes, Governor has said that since we are going to have monsoons, Governor is hoping that there'll be a better monsoon and we will expect the inflation to go down further. So the 4% target of the Reserve Bank of India can be achieved, and it should be achieved. We are understanding that the forex reserves have also recorded a whopping around 646 billion US dollars. So that is another great thing. And also, our governor has highlighted that it is RBI's prime duty to maintain these reserves, because it can be an umbrella. It can play a role of umbrella on any rainy day. So these were the major highlights. And yes, we are expecting that since this is the first bi-monthly policy of the financial year 24-25, we are going to expect more numbers in coming future, because as 7% GDP has already been estimated, and India is performing well, this could actually be achievable, and going further, this can be also projected upwards. Back to you.
All right, Shama, stay with us. Now, we also have Prasenjit K. Basu, who's a Chief Economist, ICICI Securities. Sir, again, a very warm welcome for joining in on the broadcast. The elephant has gone out for a walk. To begin with, sir, what's your overall assessment of the key announcements made by the central bank in its monetary policy, and how do you see its impact on the markets and overall economy?
Well, I think no real surprises with regard to interest rates. They've decided to stay on the sidelines for the 14th consecutive month. But I think the interesting aspects are, first of all, that the projected inflation rate for the second quarter of this fiscal year is 3.8%. And that, I think, is a positive development. If indeed inflation goes below 4%, then there'll be no reason for the RBI not to cut rates. So I do expect that there will be one rate cut as early as the June meeting, that is 2 months from now. and likely another one before the end of the calendar year.
Okay.
So otherwise, I think the RBI is being rather conservative on growth prospects. They are starting the year with a 7% forecast for real GDP growth. I think growth is going to be a lot faster. I think growth would be around 8.5% in FY25. And in FY24, my estimate is that it was at least 8.2%.
Okay.
So we are actually now comfortably the fastest growing economy in the world.
Indeed.
External balances are in fine shape. I expect that this year there'll be a current account surplus. Of course, there's a little bit of a risk with the heating up of the Israel-Iran situation. Iran has lost a couple of generals in a strike most likely by Israel on its embassy in Syria. The question, of course, is why are so as a result of that, we could have
Mr. Basu,
spike in oil prices.
We'll talk about it.
Which could hurt our current.
Indeed, we'll talk about it. But
otherwise, there's a
I understand. I understand, sir. The RBI MPC estimated India's FY25 GDP growth at 7%. Do you agree that it speaks volumes about India's growing economy and the way India is progressing financially?
So, yes, I mean, as I said, 7% is a very conservative estimate. I think growth would be a lot faster than that. And in fact, what is helping is the fact that inflation is now well under control. I think, if you look at the core inflation rate, which is directly affected by monetary policy, it is already at 3.3% in February. I think in March, it'll be closer to 3%. And in April, it'll probably be below 3%. So if core inflation is below 3%, then there really is not too much of an argument for postponing a rate cut. Also in the US, there's likely to be a rate cut perhaps as early as July.
Okay.
I think India's situation will allow an even earlier rate cut. So a rate cut will then spur even faster growth. What is helping is the fact that the external balances are in great shape. And India's exports have started recovering. In February, we had more than 11% growth in merchandise exports. The services trade surplus is large and growing. So we have a very positive environment. And I'd like to see a substantially faster growth pace, even than the 7% estimated.
All right. Stay with us, sir. We are still joined by our correspondent Shama Mishra, who's there in Mumbai. Shama, you talked about the consumer price index inflation. Let me just ask you, or retail inflation for that matter, for FY25, it's projected at 4.5%. Could you provide us with some details on this?
Yes, we are seeing all these data, not just for the financial year 24-25, but the governor usually tells about the quarters as well. So 4.5, then as our economist was also mentioning, it will also go down to 3.8 in one of the quarters. So we are understanding that overall the inflation is getting moderated. It is coming under control, but it's the only headline inflation. It's the only food inflation, which we usually call CPI inflation. It's not coming under control, and that is what is the problem over here. And the RBI, through its various measures, are trying to control that. Also, we have seen that before the 7th rate cut, whenever the last rate cut had happened, or the changes were made, we were understanding that to bring the inflation under control, the rates were continuously increased. So we understand over there that to make the spend less, to have people with less disposable income, all these measures were done. Now we are seeing the actual emphasis or the actual work which has happened with the RBI measures. It's actually working, and now we are seeing that even the retail inflation is to an extent coming under the target, because the RBI's target range is 4%, given plus or minus 2%. But the governor has time and again said that even if it's up 2%, then it's not, usually to be calculated that we are okay with 6%. It has to be under 4%. Back to you.
Correct. All right. With this, thank you so much, Shama, for joining in. And also, Mr. Prasenjit K. Basu, I appreciate your time for joining in on the broadcast. All right. Still to come on DD India News Hour. National leaders of India continue to woo voters across 21 states and union territories, where voting for first phase is scheduled just 2 weeks away. Indian forces foil infiltration bid on LOC in Kashmir's Uri sector. 1 terrorist eliminated. Election Commission of India undertakes flagship program Sweep for voter education, spreading voter awareness and promoting voter literacy in India.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibility. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday 8 p.m. only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Let's now get you the latest on world's largest democratic election in India. With the biggest elections just a fortnight away, political parties have now intensified their campaign. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in India's largest geographical state, Rajasthan, where he held a rally in the city Churu. Addressing the voters, PM Modi asserted that the promises made by the ruling party have always been fulfilled, unlike other parties. The main contest is between the BJP and the Congress party here. The state of Rajasthan has 25 seats in the lower house of the parliament.
भाजपा जो कहती है वो जरूर करती है। दूसरी पार्टियों की तरह भाजपा केवल घोषणा पत्र नहीं जारी करती, हम तो संकल्प पत्र लेकर के आते हैं। 2019 में हमने जो संकल्प पत्र जारी किया था, उसके ज्यादातर संकल्प पूरे हो चुके हैं। और 2 साल कोविड के संकट के बावजूद भी मोदी ने आपको जो वादा किया था, वो वादा पूरा करने के लिए एड़ी चोटी का जोर लगा दिया है।
All right, so 4 states go to the polls in 2 phases. Rajasthan, the largest state in India by area, and is renowned for its rich cultural heritage, vibrant traditions and historical significance. Let's take a look at its significance in terms of the upcoming general elections in India.
The mention of Rajasthan brings to memory rich culture, history and heritage that has stood the test of time. Rajasthan is synonymous with tourism. World-famous castles, forts and palaces built by the erstwhile royals are a main attraction for global tourists. Rajasthan is the largest state in India with an area of over 342,000 square kilometers. It is located in the northwestern part of the country, with the Thar Desert covering a significant portion of the state. The state of Rajasthan was formed on March 30th, 1949, with Jaipur as its designated capital city. As India goes to polls this year, the political barometer of Rajasthan is rising, with parties eyeing the 25 seats of Lok Sabha, the lower house of the Indian Parliament. The 2024 general election in Rajasthan is being conducted in two phases, on April 19th and May 26th. Rajasthan's population is about 81.3 million, out of which a total of 52.6 million voters are registered in the state. The state has 27.4 million male voters, 25.3 million female voters, and about 600 voters from the third gender. The Bharatiya Janata Party, Indian National Congress, Rashtriya Lokatantrik Party, the Bahujan Samaj Party, and the Rashtriya Lok Dal are the prominent players in the state. Looking back at the 2019 general elections, the BJP not only swept the polls but also increased its vote share to 59.07%. Rajasthan saw BJP-led NDA scoring 24 out of the 25 seats, along with the Rashtriya Lokatantrik Party securing 1 seat, and no seat was won by the Indian National Congress. As the parliamentary election dates are now set for the political matches in Rajasthan, the BJP is aiming for a repeat of 2019 blockbuster, while the other parties have upped their ante to improve their scores in the desert state. Election Desk, DD India.
On the other hand, India's opposition party Congress released its manifesto for the upcoming general elections today in New Delhi, highlighting the 5 pillars of justice in their manifesto, Nyay Patra. The party promises 25 guarantees to the voters of the country. The 3 themes of the manifesto including work, wealth and welfare. The document also stated jobs and education to the people, and the release event was attended by Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge along with leaders Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi and P. Chidambaram among others.
हमारा ये घोषणा पत्र देश के राजनीतिक इतिहास में न्याय के दस्तावेज के रूप में याद किया जाएगा। राहुल जी के नेतृत्व में चली भारत जोड़ो न्याय यात्रा में 5 पिलर्स पर ध्यान केंद्रित किया गया था। यात्रा के दौरान युवा न्याय, किसान न्याय, नारी न्याय, श्रमिक न्याय और हिस्सेदारी न्याय की घोषणा की गई थी। जहां कहीं भी हम गए, इन न्याय की बात हमने करी थी और इसकी गारंटी भी हमने दी है।
All right, DD India's Dibyendu Model joins us from Delhi to tell more details. Dibyendu, political parties are releasing their manifestos and Congress just released theirs today. Tell us about the key takeaways from Congress's manifesto which they have released.
Well, Siddharth, we are just a fortnight away from the first phase of the election, and the Congress, the largest opposition party of India, have already released its manifesto this morning. The program was attended, of course, by the Congress President, former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram, the Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, as well as Rahul and Sonia Gandhi. But the key takeaways what the Congress tells from the election manifesto of the Congress is the 5 pillars which the Congress highlighted during the release of the election manifesto. The Congress, in its manifesto, also promises to hold the socio-economic as well as the caste census across India. However, of course, these 2 announcements will be looked at by the opposition party as a divisive and a regressive step by the Congress party. But of course, that will be debated during the election rallies in the coming days. But having said this, the Congress also spoke about reservation for women. It also spoke about reservation for increasing, in fact, the reservation for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe in its election manifesto. It also spoke about, how all sections of the society will be provided equal rights with respect even to the LGBTQ community, has been mentioned in the Congress's election manifesto. It also spoke about revamping the GST, which was passed by the BJP government during its previous term when Arun Jaitley was the finance minister. The Congress also speaks about, in its election manifesto, also speaks about, scrapping of the Agnipath scheme, which was launched by this government in the second tenure, which is the Modi government 2.0. So there are similar such schemes that have been listed in the election manifesto of the Congress, which the Congress perhaps thinks will be able to garner vote. It also speaks importantly about providing employment both to the rural as well as to the urban youth. Yes, back to you, Siddharth.
All right. Like you said, Dibyendu, that we are just fortnight away from the biggest elections in India, Lok Sabha polls. How are the political parties gearing up for the elections, the BJP, Congress? And if I talk about Aam Aadmi Party, then the party is campaigning rigorously, Dibyendu, perhaps, and is trying to make the arrest of AAP Supremo Arvind Kejriwal a major political issue, perhaps. How do you think it will impact the votes in national capital?
Well, that's absolutely right, Siddharth. The states which are going to polls in the first phase is, of course, our political parties there are campaigning rigorously. But if we talk of the national capital, which is going to polls in the second last phase, is also the campaign here in the national capital is also heating up, especially with the fact that the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and Aam Aadmi Party Supremo have been arrested by the ED a couple of days back, in fact, earlier last month. So ever since then, the Aam Aadmi Party is trying to cash in and capitalize on this issue, and the arrest of Arvind Kejriwal will, of course, be one of the key highlights of the Aam Aadmi Party. But during the election campaign, how much will this translate into votes on ground will, of course, be seen on the 4th of June. But having said this, the Aam Aadmi Party will leave no stone unturned to ensure that the arrest of Arvind Kejriwal is made into a major political issues in the coming time, just ahead of the elections here in Delhi. Yes, back to you.
All right, with this, thank you so much, Dibyendu Model, for joining in and for your analysis. With an attempt to increase voter turnout in the country, the Election Commission of India held a press conference on Friday in the national capital, New Delhi. The Chief Election Commissioner, Rajiv Kumar, addressed the municipal commissioners from major cities and districts and directed them to prepare a booth-wise action plan for enhanced participation and behavior change, which people are self-motivated to vote. A booklet on voter apathy was also released on the occasion. SWEEP program is ECI's flagship program to educate and spread awareness to the voters and promote voter literacy in India. Through different models, the program aims to create understanding of rights amongst the voters. And let's take a look at other stories making news. Indian Army successfully thwarted an infiltration attempt along the line of control in Uri sector located in North Kashmir. According to official sources, the operation took place at the Ruston post on Friday morning. Official sources confirmed the elimination of one terrorist during the operation. However, the situation remains active as the army continues its operations in the area. Trade between India-Bangladesh through Mahadipur Sona Masjid will remain suspended for a week from April 8 on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr and Pahela Baishakh. However, movement of travellers through the land port will remain as usual. Besides, passenger movement through checkposts will remain normal despite suspension of trade. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Tensions on rise after Iranian embassy attack in Syria on April 1st, with Iran blaming Netanyahu for the attack. NATO allies aim to send more air defense aid to Ukraine but make no concrete pledges. In Taiwan, demolition of a tilted building in Hualien is underway. Stay with us, we'll tell you more details.
Republic of China captured Tibet back in the day. And is it time to consider a social media ban for kids? Watch Connecting the Dots to get the full picture every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
Land of Shivaji Maharaj goes to polls in 5 phases. In a race where local politics hold more sway than the national narrative, Maharashtra witnesses a chaotic election unlike any it has seen before. How will the regional satraps hold their ground in this election that could be a game changer to their fortunes? Join us in the battle for Maharashtra on the Great Indian Election at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of the headlines. Reserve Bank of India keep interest rates unchanged at 6.5% for the 7th consecutive time. RBI Governor says focus on aligning inflation to the target, task not yet finished. Election campaign picks momentum for parliamentary polls in India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses rally in northern state of Rajasthan. Opposition party Congress releases its poll manifesto. Biden warns Netanyahu takes steps to prevent civilian harm to maintain US support. Hours after Biden-Netanyahu call, Israel adds 3 key crossings to Gaza aid routes. And situation around the Ukraine's eastern city of Chasiv tense. Ukrainian military denies that Russian forces had entered the suburbs of Chasiv Yar, asserts intense fighting underway. And as the Israel-Hamas conflict continues, US President Joe Biden has warned Israel of policy changes if Netanyahu failed to protect the civilians and the aid workers in the conflict-hit Gaza. This move comes as Israel is facing international condemnation after its strike hit World Central Kitchen that resulted in the death of few aid workers. Biden relayed his message in a telephonic call with the Israeli Prime Minister on Thursday. Though US has been one of the supporters of Israel, in a statement released by White House stated that Biden has made clear that need for Israel to implement a series of measurable steps to address civilian harm.
On that phone call, the president emphasized that the strikes on humanitarian workers and the overall humanitarian situation in Gaza are unacceptable. He made clear the need for Israel to announce and to implement a series of specific, concrete, and measurable steps to address civilian harm, humanitarian suffering, and the safety of aid workers. He made clear that U.S. policy with respect to Gaza will be determined by our assessment of Israel's immediate action on these steps. If we don't see changes from their side, there'll have to be changes from our side, but I won't preview what that could look like.
Meanwhile, Israeli government has approved series of steps to increase the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Netanyahu's security cabinet agreed on Thursday to the reopening of Erez crossing into the northern Gaza and the temporary use of Ashdod port in southern Israel. In addition to this, the cabinet has also approved to increase Jordanian aid through the Kerem Shalom crossing point located at the south of Gaza. Well, after terming the strike on 7 aid workers as intended, Israel said on Thursday it would adjust tactics in the Gaza war. Israel military has acknowledged air strikes on World Central Kitchen staff as a major mistake and said that inquiry findings would be made public soon. Israel said it would set up a joint operational coordination room with humanitarian agencies located within the military's southern command, where Gaza missions are directly managed. In another attempt to expedite the process of hostage release, the US CIA Director Bill Burns will likely travel to Cairo this weekend as per reports. During his visit, he will meet his Egyptian and Israeli counterparts and the Qatari Prime Minister, trying to reach a breakthrough in talks on releasing hostages held by Hamas. This has not been the first time US has asked Israel to minimize collateral damage. In October 7 last year, when the deadly attack by Hamas took place in south of Israel, US warnings to Israel in the past. Biden urged Tel Aviv not to make same mistakes as Washington made in the aftermath of 9/11 terror attacks. Biden further said, while we sought justice and got justice, we also made mistakes. Biden also cautioned Israel not to be consumed by rage. In November 2023, Biden voiced his support for humanitarian pause in Israel's conflict with Hamas for the first time. December 2023, US urged Israel to end large-scale ground offensive in Gaza. US also asked Israel to transition to a more targeted phase of its conflict against Hamas. February 2024, Biden warned Israel not to attack Rafah without plan to protect civilians. He also asked Netanyahu to not move forward without credible and executable plan to protect the civilians. March 2024, Biden said that Netanyahu was hurting Israel more than helping it in conflict. He also warned that Rafah offensive would be a red line that Israel should never cross. All right, and DD India correspondent Alex Cadia joins us from Tel Aviv. Alex, now with Biden warning Netanyahu, US perhaps has never come out with such a hard statement like this.
Yeah, you're right. It's certainly the escalation we've seen building up for weeks between Prime Minister Netanyahu and Joe Biden. Real tension between the two leaders, real frustration on the US side, the feeling that the Israeli government was simply not listening to its largest ally. And that tension, that frustration, that rift between the two leaders has been building up for weeks, and that is why we've culminated to this point where Joe Biden, the US president, effectively giving his Israeli counterpart and the Israeli government an ultimatum, saying that they have to do more to allow aid to the Gaza Strip. They have to do more to prevent civilian deaths, or US support, US military support, US diplomatic support could be reduced, and weapons deliveries could be conditioned by the United States. We know that other allies, including the UK, have had similar concerns about breaches of international law by Israel in Gaza, and that their support may also diminish as a result of these allegations. So clearly pressure that the Israeli government says it has heard and responded to. We understand that the War Cabinet and the Israeli government have approved measures to allow more humanitarian aid to Gaza, including the reopening of the Erez checkpoint, which is a checkpoint at the northern end of the Gaza Strip. It's about an hour south of where I'm speaking to you from as well, and they will also allow humanitarian aid to flow in through the port of Ashdod, which is very close to the Gaza Strip and would facilitate aid going in. So clearly a lot of pressure and frustration from the US and a shift in position from the Israelis.
All right, Alex, we all know why this warning came from the United States. It's apparently after Israel's strike hit World Central Kitchen, that resulted in the death of a few aid workers. US perhaps is the biggest arms supplier for Israel. Now, Alex, WCK founder Jose Andres said his workers were systematically targeted, and WCK has called for independent investigation into the airstrikes. Do you have any updates on this?
Yeah, you're right. Well, the current investigation is being led by the fact-finding mechanism of the Israeli Defense Forces. So it is an independent body within the IDF, and we understand that that is what the World Central Kitchen founder Jose Andres objected to. He wanted to see a full third-party investigation. He pressured the United States, the United Kingdom, and other European allies of Israel to ask for that independent investigation into exactly what happened. Now, we've seen reporting in Israeli media, most notably in the Israeli newspaper Haaretz and elsewhere, of the exact nature of the strike. These three cars were hit one after the other with a delay between each strike. They were a distance from each other as well. We know the first car was hit. Those who survived tried to seek refuge in the second car. That was then hit. And when the third car, also branded World Central Kitchen, arrived to try and save those that had survived the first two strikes, that had also been hit. And those details that are starting to come out are exactly why Jose Andres and the United States and Israel's allies say they want to see a very clear investigation. Now, Herzl Halevi, he is the head of the IDF, the chief of the general staff for the Israeli Defense Forces. He says that an investigation is ongoing. It will be thorough, it will be speedy, it will be transparent, and will be concluded in a matter of days, he said. We also know from Prime Minister Netanyahu that Israel intends to make the findings of that investigation public, but still pressure on Israel not just to investigate itself, but to allow an outside body to do so as well.
All right, we leave there. Thank you so much, Alex Cadia, for your analysis. Well, tensions are also rising between Israel and Iran due to the airstrike on Iran's embassy compound in the Syrian capital, Damascus. Though Israel has not commented on it yet, but Iran's leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has blamed Netanyahu for the attack. Israeli authorities believe that Iran may conduct a retaliatory attack as soon as Friday. Earlier, Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi also said that the strike would not go unanswered. Meanwhile, GPS is also being blocked across swathes of Israel in order to disrupt missiles and drones after Iran threat. The Israel Defense Forces also announced it was halting all leave for soldiers serving with combat units. It comes a day after reservists were called up to bolster air defense units. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has meanwhile said that Tehran has been working against us directly and through its proxies. He added that Israel will hurt Iran to defend itself.
For years, Iran has been working against us directly and through its proxies, and therefore Israel is working against Iran and its proxies, both defensively and offensively. We will know how to defend ourselves, and we will act according to the simple principle that whoever hurts us or plans to hurt us, we will hurt them.
India too has expressed concern over suspected Israeli attack on the Iranian embassy in Syria on April 1st. In his weekly media briefing on Thursday, India's MEA spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal stated that India is distressed by the escalating tensions in West Asia. He added that it has potential to fuel further violence and instability in the region.
We have noted with concern the attack on Iranian diplomatic premises on Syria on 1st April 2024. India is distressed at the escalating tensions in West Asia and their potential to fuel further violence and instability. We urge all parties to avoid actions that go against commonly accepted principles and norms of international law.
Situation in the Ukraine's eastern city of Chasiv remains tense. The Russian forces claim to have entered the city on Friday, but the Ukrainian authorities have denied the Russian reports. Chasiv, located about 10 kilometers west of Bakhmut, has served as an important staging point for Ukrainian troops in the area and is now heavily fortified. Meanwhile, Russia has lashed out at Swedish plans to set up a NATO base in Baltic a day after it termed the relations with NATO as sliding to the level of direct confrontation. According to Russian news agency, which quoted the foreign ministry, the Swedish move is a provocation that would turn the sea into an area of geopolitical confrontation. The ministry said this would increase risks for shipping in the Baltic. NATO foreign ministers concluded their two-day meeting in Brussels on Thursday without any pledge for aid to Ukraine, but only promises. They agreed to scour their arsenals for more air defense systems for Ukraine. However, neither official spelled out any specific pledge or aid target. This comes even though Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba met NATO counterparts and appealed for new additional air defense systems, especially US-made Patriot missiles. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said that allies understand the urgency.
Allies understand the urgency and therefore welcome also the announcements I just listed from several allies to provide more ammunition and more types of systems to Ukraine. They also understand the urgency of stepping up when it comes to air defense in particular. And therefore allies will now go back and look into their inventories, look into if there are any ways they can provide more systems, in particular Patriots, but also, of course, ensure that the systems which are already there have the ammunition, but also the spare parts so they can all function as they should. So this is partly a question of systems, batteries, but also very much a question of delivering the interceptors to the systems which are already there. And several allies promised that they should make a new effort to find what they can, or to look into what more they can deliver.
In Taiwan, demolition of a tilted building in Hualien is underway on Friday, 2 days after a 7.2 magnitude earthquake rocked the island, killing 12 people and leaving hundreds stranded in a national park. Excavators broke the windows of the quake-hit Uranus building as dismantling operations commenced. A mountain near the demolition site was also affected by the landslide caused by the quake. Taiwan's fire department said 2 bodies were found in the mountains and put the number of people still missing at 18, including 3 foreigners. While in another update, a video showed rescuers reaching people trapped at a mountain tunnel following an earthquake this week. The video has been verified with the file images of the tunnel's exterior and road layout. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. In a first of its kind, a UK startup says its power beaming technology could provide the cheap, reliable energy source the Earth needs by harvesting solar power in space 24 hours a day. The concept requires solar panels similar to those used on Earth but in orbit to turn sunlight into electricity, which then converted to microwaves to be beamed from space to an Earth station connected to the local grid. Tens of millions of dollars in cash was reportedly stolen in a massive heist on Easter Sunday at a money storage facility in the San Fernando Valley in California. The money was stolen after thieves broke into the roof without setting off alarms. FBI and local police are investigating the matter. A dazzling custom-bound signed first edition of Truman Capote's renowned Breakfast at Tiffany's will debut at New York Book Fair. The 64th edition of the New York Book Fair at the Park Avenue Armory in New York from April 4 to 7, coinciding with the 75th anniversary of the ABAA. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Season-ending WTA finals to be held in Saudi Arabia's capital, Riyadh, from 2024 to 26. And India commemorates nation's rich maritime heritage on the National Maritime Day.
How did the People's Republic of China capture Tibet back in the day? And is it time to consider a social media ban for kids? Watch Connecting the Dots to get the full picture every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
The land of Shivaji Maharaj goes to polls in 5 phases. In a race where local politics hold more sway than the national narrative, Maharashtra witnesses a chaotic election unlike any it has seen before. How will the regional satraps hold their ground in this election that could be a game changer to their fortunes? Join us in the battle for Maharashtra on the Great Indian Election at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour and time now for sport, or for that my colleague Deepika is here. Deepika, tell us what is happening in the world of sport.
A lot, Siddharth. First, let's begin with tennis for all our viewers who are joining us here on DD India. Well, the Women's Tennis Association has announced that the WTA finals will be held in Riyadh from 2024 up till 2026. Now, this has finally ended months of speculation, marking the Gulf countries' latest swoop into sports. Take a look at this report.
The women's tennis body said on Thursday that the season-ending WTA finals will be held in Saudi Arabia's capital, Riyadh, from 2024 to 2026. It has ended months of speculation and marking the Gulf country's latest foray into the sport. Riyadh will host the season finale from 2nd till the 9th of November and replace last year's host in Mexico. It features the top 8 singles players and doubles team. The event could be shifted to Saudi Arabia became evident after the men's ATP Tour set last August. Its finals would be held in Jeddah from 2023 to 2027. The Saudi sports minister said to have a women's tournament of this magnitude and profile is a defining moment for tennis in Saudi Arabia. The WTA finals has the power to inspire far beyond the sport, especially for our young girls and women. The WTA selected Riyadh following a comprehensive evaluation process over several months, which has included assessment of multiple bids from different regions and engagement with players. Saudi Arabia has invested heavily in sports like soccer, Formula One and golf in the last few years. While critics accuse the kingdom of using its fund to sports wash its human rights record, the country denies accusations of human rights abuses and says it protects its national security through its laws. WTA chief Steve Simon said last year that Saudi Arabia presented big issues as a host for women's tour events, but also acknowledged the progress it has made and continued to engage with players. World number 1 Iga Swiatek and Caroline Wozniacki said at the Australian Open that engagement offered the chance to spark a positive change. Sports Desk, DD India.
Rafael Nadal withdrew from the upcoming Monte Carlo Masters on Thursday, saying his body is not yet ready for competition. The 37-year-old Spaniard, who has said he expects to retire after the 2024 season, returned to competition in Brisbane in the month of January. Now, this was after almost a year that he was sidelined with a flexor injury, but has not played an ATP event since then. Nadal said his body simply won't allow him to play for now. The Monte Carlo Masters begins on Sunday, and Nadal has won the event record 11 times, with his last victory coming in 2018. In soccer, Chelsea staged a last-gasp comeback to beat Manchester United by 4-3, with Cole Palmer bagging a hat-trick to turn a madcap Premier League match on its head. Chelsea's top scorer Palmer struck twice deep into added time at Stamford Bridge to save the Blues, who were on the verge of a 3-2 home defeat. United remains 6th at 6th spot and still 11 points behind 4th place Villa, albeit with a game in hand. Palmer's clincher was the latest winning goal on record in a Premier League game. Liverpool reclaimed the Premier League lead in an enthralling title race as Alexis Alistair's thunderbolt and a late header by Cody Gakpo secured a nervy 3-1 home victory over bottom club Sheffield United. Jurgen Klopp's side have won 70 points from 30 games and are now 2 ahead of Arsenal and 3 more than champions Manchester City. A bizarre opener by Darwin Núñez after 17 minutes when he closed down keeper Ivo Karpic and blocked his attempted clearance into the net looked set to open the floodgates as Liverpool sought the win they needed to dislodge Arsenal from top spot. In cricket, Sunrisers Hyderabad will take on defending champions Chennai Super Kings today in match number 18 of the ongoing IPL season at Rajiv Gandhi International Cricket Stadium in Hyderabad. Sunrisers suffered a heavy 7-wicket defeat while defending 163 against Gujarat Titans in their last game. Pat Cummins-led Hyderabad have won one of their opening 3 games this season and are currently placed at 6th position in the points table. Meanwhile, Ruturaj Gaikwad led Chennai Super Kings and they also witnessed a shocking 21 defeat against Delhi Capitals in their first game. However, CSK are placed in the 3rd spot in the points table with 2 victories in 3 games. CSK have also recorded 4 victories in their last 5 meetings against Sunrisers and will enter the upcoming clash as the favourites. Now, in a shocking incident, Kaiser Chiefs Luke Fleurs died after being shot during a car hijacking on Wednesday night in Florida. The club confirmed the death of the player and the police have released a statement on their investigation. It is reported that Luke Fleurs, who was driving a red VW Golf 8 GTI, drove into the petrol station and while waiting to be served by the petrol attendant, he was confronted by 2 armed men driving a white BMW 1 Series. The suspects pointed a firearm at him and took him out of his vehicle, then shot him once on the upper body. The police also said that one of the suspects also drove off with the victim's car, followed by his accomplice. Now, Luke was taken to the nearest medical care center where he was certified dead on arrival. The talented defender was named 2021-22 PSL Young Player of the Season and he is a former South Africa Youth International as well. So that was a quick wrap from the world of sports. Back to you, Siddharth.
Thanks for all those updates from the world of sport, Deepika. Well, the 61st National Maritime Day in India is being celebrated across the nation today. The day commemorates the historic embarkation of the first Indian-owned vessel, SS Loyalty, on her maiden voyage from Mumbai to London, which took place on April 5th, 1919.
The National Maritime Day in India holds significant importance in commemorating the maritime heritage and acknowledging the contributions of the maritime sector to the nation's growth and development. The history of the National Maritime Day dates back to April 5th, 1919, when the Indian-owned steamship SS Loyalty embarked on its maiden voyage from Bombay to the United Kingdom.
Currently, in terms of the ship tonnage, we are at 22nd rank. And it is our desire as a country, as a system, we are working towards this. By 2030, we will be top 10. And it is our, again, ambition, aspiration by 2047, we will be in top 5 countries of the world.
In recent years, there has been a renewed focus on leveraging India's vast coastline and maritime resources to boost trade, tourism and blue economy sectors. Initiatives like Sagarmala and Amritkal Vision 2047 are aimed at unlocking the full potential of the maritime sector and driving inclusive development across coastal regions.
Plans and the various steps are very well defined, and how the systematic this improvement, these milestones will be achieved. These are very well defined, and as a country, as an industry, regulator, our ministry, all shipping companies will work towards this.
By fostering innovation, promoting sustainability and strengthening cooperation, it can be ensured that India emerges as a global maritime powerhouse in the years to come. As India continues to strengthen its maritime infrastructure, policies and capabilities, it is poised to play a prominent role in the global maritime arena, trade and sustainable development. Shama Mishra, DD India, Mumbai.
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.